nice word. And we want to make sure that there's some opportunity for substantial change. With the 200,000 deaths in nursing homes due to COVID, yes, there will always have been death due to COVID in nursing homes, given the frailty of the population, but it needn't have been that genocide or geronticide. And we should all be ashamed of ourselves that this country has allowed this. There's many problems in this, and we're honored that we've had the opportunity that Alice Bonner, who's the head of the Moving Forward Coalition, which is looking to find ways to implement the nation's recommendations through the Moving Forward Coalition, of which we encourage everybody here to at least become a supporter. We're thrilled. And I just want to, the way we're going to do this is that we'll start, we'll start with Alice, and Alice will then introduce our other two panelists. We want to also encourage everybody here to work with us as well as with Moving Forward. We've been successful, and we'll want to expand our reach within the realm of nursing home and long-term care transformation. We have a lot of activists on the call today. Coincidentally, or serendipitously, the New York State Attorney General today, just a few minutes ago, held a news conference that she is undertaking some substantial litigation to shut down, basically to shut down a disgusting nursing home system in upstate New York. So, and the stories that we get that she was able to provide from the families, poignant and horrifying. Another thing that I'd like to make sure that everybody understands is that in December 2022, we're going to have our next webinar, which is going to be focusing on the voices of the residents themselves and what they want to see with regard to nursing home transformation in the year 2023. For all of us here today, we want to know, where is your outrage, and how do we get other people outraged enough to actually do something aside from internally saying, oh my God, this is so terrible. I'd like to start with Alice, and we're thrilled to have you start.
All right, fantastic. Well, thank you so much. And thanks everybody for joining today. This is really designed to be a conversation with all of you and a discussion. So we've left considerable time at the end, and we're all going to be mindful of our time because we want to give you some background, we want to tell you some stories, and then we really want to hear from you. As Jack just said, I am a nurse practitioner and a nurse professionally, but I come to this work also as a family member of people in my family who lived in nursing homes, assisted living, and all kinds of other settings. But primarily, I've really been an advocate. I've spent 30 plus years working in nursing homes. I started out as a nursing assistant when I was in college. So I've really looked at this from a lot of different angles. So with that, I'm going to share my slides to start. And I want to just say that my slides are just to provide some very basic background for all of you. My screen goes to black for a minute, so it'll pop up. Just to provide background about the Moving Forward Coalition. Can you see the screen now? Should be there. Liz is nodding. Okay, good. The idea here is that we're a coalition of people who have come together to really improve quality, and we're still looking for people to join us. So that's why, I specifically asked, for people in the chat, to consider joining, going to the website. So So again, we have some progress and milestones that we want to just mention to you, which is that, as I said in the very beginning, the National Academies of Sciences, Engineering, and Medicine, which is a well-respected organization came out with this 600-page report that we've shown you a few times now, and you can download it and just read it on your computer if you're interested. What we're doing is we're just prioritizing the recommendations. They had many excellent recommendations in that report, but we're prioritizing ones based on, what is feasible for us to do, what will generate collaboration, what will be sustainable, and what will be equitable. We're very focused on minority and other disadvantaged populations who may live in nursing homes to make sure we're really getting a representative sample of people. We also are, as I said, we're looking for individuals as well as organizations. We have about 50 or 60 organizations already. We have over 500 people signed up who said they want to participate in some way. So we're delighted, but we have 15,000 nursing homes in this country, and 1.5 million people almost live there. So we really want to do more and get more people involved. And as Jack said, this is about generating a public outcry about these issues. This is not about, being super polite anymore and being, super diplomatic. I mean, a lot of us on this call have done that for decades. This is about saying it is urgent right now that we really take action. So we want to communicate about what we're doing, and we're building for sustainability here. We're not doing this for 2 years and then we're done. This is setting things up and beginning to take action in 2 years and then going forward from there. The vision of that the committee has had is that the residents of nursing homes are going to receive care in a safe environment that honors their values, preferences, and addresses goals of care, promotes equity, and assesses benefits and risks of care and treatment. This is very much focused on nursing home residents. This is not what I think as a nurse practitioner or what some of you think in your professional roles or what a family member might think, and I've been one of those family members. This is about what residents really want to tell us. And I know we have residents on this call today. Some of you I've spoken with as recently as this last week. So I just want to say thank you for being involved, because your voice is the voice that we need to hear over and over. The committee is, a group of people who have really deep, broad experience in nursing home quality and policy. And so, they represent nationally, really, people who know this space very well. And so some of these people have gone from being on the NASEM report committee to being on one of our committees in moving forward and co-chairing or being a member of one of our committees. The overarching conclusions in the NASEM report are pictured here, but you really you want to look at the first one, the number one here, which is, it says in very strong language, the way that the U.S. finances, delivers, and regulates care in nursing homes is ineffective, inefficient, fragmented, and unsustainable. Those are very strong words, and it was the entire committee that came together and wanted to use that language. So this wasn't a controversial topic, and the evidence that the committee heard over and over, testimony from people like myself and some of you who are on this call, has been really important evidence. I know we have people on this call who are in state agencies and divisions on aging. We thank you for joining. Those are the people, you are the people who we really need to reach and work with to make sure we can move forward with our recommendations. So this slide summarizes for each of the categories in the NASEM report what the goals or recommendations were from the committee. And what our groups did was we now have co-chairs for committees that follow each of these 7 categories. And what they did was they set priorities within each category. So they came up with, so if you look at, goal number 1, which is about person-centered care, that was something people were very interested in. We have some people on this call who I think may be on that committee number 1. But that group is prioritizing, and you're going to see this on Friday because we're going to be posting their priorities on our website on Friday. They're looking at how people's goals and priorities and preferences are assessed when they first come to the nursing home, as a resident, and then how those might change over time. How are we collecting that information? How are we documenting it? How are we making sure that what actually is in the care plan is what really happens with that resident every day, if that's, what their preferences are? So committee number 1 is also working with committee number 5. I know we have someone from committee number 5 on this call to sort of talk through, regarding person-centered care, how might we look at quality assurance related to that to make sure it's happening at a system level. And then committee number 7, which is looking at health information technology, that's also a group that's looking at person-centeredness and how can they relieve the staff from doing too much paperwork or data collection and really freeing them up to spend more time with residents, which is what we really want to see happen. So there's a lot of interactions between the committees that are currently working on these goals. So again, what we're doing, our overall overarching goals are to do the priorities. And as I said, we're going to be posting them on Friday to develop meaningful improvement methods that we can use to make quality of life better in nursing homes, and to do it through action plans. This is not about creating another report that's going to sit on somebody's desk or be in a file cabinet. This is about action plans that go step by step through what we can do and what we can test to make sure that that change is really happening. And the final thing that's really important for this group, and we would love your feedback on this, is how can we make this sustainable? Again, for many of you who, like me, have been doing this for a lot of years, we don't want something that's just a one-off. We don't want this to be 2 years of funding and then, we'll go on to something else. No, this is about a sustainable coalition that will become embedded in the way we deliver nursing home care across the United States going forward into the future. So this is a little bit complicated to look at, but this is basically our process for the Moving Forward Coalition. So the first phase we did between June and September. We convened people, we identified co-chairs, they chose members for their committees, and then they spent September, October, and November doing the prioritization, and that's the second phase of the work that we just finished. We're currently entering phase 3, which is now we're going to create action plans based on those priorities. And so the teams are just starting. I literally sent an email this morning with some guidelines around the action plan development. But again, we have very seasoned co-chairs that really know how to do this work from their prior experience. And then we're moving from phase 3 into phase 4 in the early spring of 2023. And that's when we're going to test the action plans and promote what's in them. Some of the testing is going to be done in some nursing homes, and we've already got some nursing homes that have said, we think this is important. We want to be part of this. Sign us up. We'll do some of this testing with you. Some of it may be more around legislation or changing the laws or changing regulations, updating regulations, for example, around something like ownership and how can you tell who the owner is of an organization. The reference that Jack made earlier about the Attorney General in New York and coming forward about a particular nursing home, group of nursing homes. If you read through like who the owners were, even just reading that, it was almost impossible to tell. And that's fairly common. So not singling out that one group, but we can do things related to how we collect that data and make it available publicly in a way that people can understand. It's got to be understandable for someone who doesn't really know much of anything about nursing homes. We've got to make it that way, and we've got to use plain language. And then we're also engaging advocates, the policymakers that we work with. Again, some of them are on the call. I know Bev Laubert is on this call today. She and I, and probably other folks in this audience, were at the Consumer Voice Conference just a few weeks ago in Baltimore. Again, talking with ombudsmen, speaking with advocates, talking with other people who have stepped up and said these things are really important to them. So, and you can see the feedback loop at the bottom, which is telling us that, this is a sustainable process. We want it to be continuous. So, I talked about this already to some extent. So we have in the blue squares, those are the 7 different working committees. They're each working on those categories of goals. We also have a steering committee, and that's people who are not on the regular committees. They're outside people who have experience, lived experience, and want to be part of this moving forward coalition. And then the co-chairs also join from the working committee so they can update the steering committee. And a lot of the big decision making is, we've set up processes so there's a lot of checks and balances so that, people are really making decisions thoughtfully and with a lot of input from one another. So it's not a single person making those decisions. And then at the bottom, you can see we've got participants, general stakeholders, the greater community. So this is really building on all of us. So just a couple of points about how we're communicating and, some of the ways we're getting the word out. And again, love to know your thoughts if we can do this better. We started our newsletter in November. Now, newsletters some people don't like them very much. Some people think they're great. Some people think something in the middle. But we do try to provide updates about the progress of the work, the status of where we are, and what's coming next. And then we also have coalition conversations, which is what we call our regular calls every month or every other month with myself and committee chair, co-chairs or members. We had 2 of them last month, and they were very, very rich, rewarding conversations. In addition to those coalition conversations, we're going to have some more of them coming up. We also have opportunities for people to weigh in and give us feedback just on the priorities that we're posting this week. So you can go to the website after Friday. You should be able to find the priorities on the Taking Action page. And we're going to have 2 sessions, December 8th and December 13th. We would love if you would join those sessions. Tell us what you think. Did we hit the mark? Is there something we missed? Would you have us do it in a different way? It's all in development. And again, I just want to be really sure to emphasize that we try not to make decisions by ourselves. We really try to involve people in those decisions. We've had a lot of conferences. I mentioned Consumer Voice. This slide is just showing you some of the other places where we've been. If you have ideas about where we ought to go to really get the word out, especially outside of just our own nursing home world, because we all know about nursing homes, I imagine, but in a lot of cases, people, outside of the nursing home network need to hear about it. So, we ask audiences like yourself a bunch of questions. We ask about what gives you hope or optimism. And people have said to us, well, we're really glad to see everybody coming together, and not being in their silos as we often have been. We ask people what gives them the most concern. And I would say some people have said they're worried that nursing homes will drive this process, and they don't want to see that. So we want to be sure that we've got advocates and advocacy organizations and family members and care partners, and most of all, nursing home residents really central to this work. And as far as advice for the coalition, people have said, please communicate with us. Please let us know what you're doing, because we really we want to keep up to date. So just a few more slides. So, we prioritized, and now we're starting to create action plans. So just a couple of slides to show you how we're approaching the action plans. So this is an example. I know it's hard to read, it's small print, but this is just an example that we developed a guide so that all the committees have this guide, and they could use it to ask each other questions on the committee about how to prioritize in terms of what's feasible, what's equitable, what is sustainable, et cetera. So just so you know, there's a process and tools behind how people are approaching it. Another example, one of the committees decided to do a SWOT analysis, which is strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. It's just a way of thinking through logically how to approach an issue. And they looked at each other's answers and shared back and forth and went from there. And then finally, again, and you'll see this in the posted priorities, but one of the committees, really shared back and forth about some of the measures and how will we measure and know if we've improved something, especially as far as quality improvement. And so they went through a bunch of quality improvement measures and talked back and forth about that. So just to let you know that these committee discussions have been very detailed and really thoughtful as they move forward. And this is just showing you that there's a whole process behind it. This isn't, people just picking what they like. This is, there's a very thoughtful process with steering committee engagement. The steering committee reviewed all the priorities, gave feedback back to the committee co-chairs. We had nursing home residents give feedback, and there'll be an online form for the entire month of December. So any of you and anybody else can give feedback for the entire month. So just a couple more slides about our progress, engaging people and doing the testing, and then opportunities and challenges that are coming up. So this is just summarizing for you where we think we are, which is, we really want to look at operations and build for sustainability. I mentioned that before. We really want more participant engagement. I chatted in my email, and I'll do it one more time. We would love for you to just go to the website, check it out. If you want to join, you can click on Get Connected, and it just will sign you up, and then you'll get newsletters and other information. We do have opportunities coming up with the action plans for people to join work groups, and the co-chairs are going to reach out and connect with you. So that's another thing. And I saw Paul Falkowski's on this call. He's one of the people who early on reached out to us. And, anybody who's interested in participating, we have this list, and we know that there's going to be things where you can get more involved, and work groups. And then focusing on nursing home residents, as I said earlier, care partners. And we're also going to be doing some work with state and local groups, because maybe you don't want to be involved at the national level, but maybe you want to be involved in your city or town in working with nursing homes and working with local legislators, et cetera. We've reached out to the media, we've reached out to faith-based leaders, activists, and others. Many of you are on this call, so we really want to hear from you. How can we really be more activist in this work? As I said earlier, this is not about politeness anymore. This is about, we have to take action in a really strong and meaningful way. So ongoing communication is really key. So again, here's another way that you can reach either myself or Isaac Longobardi, who's our wonderful associate director. I want to just re-emphasize what Jack and Liz and a few people said in the beginning. I made myself a note so I'd remember, which is, this is Giving Tuesday, and it's really important, in addition to, our Transformation Tuesdays here, to, for people to think about giving and in any way that is right for you. So with that, I am going to stop sharing my screen and go back to the next two speakers, who I will introduce. And they are in order, Melody Taylor Stark and Liz Sternono, who both of whom are very involved in the movement, and very involved in a lot of work that we're doing nationally, and that they're doing locally as well. And I would say what I told you about is just the overview of the coalition. What they have to share is really, really important. So I hope you'll listen to their stories and their feelings, because they have a lot that we can all learn from. So with that, Melody, I think you are going first. Take it away.
Thanks so much, Alice and Jack, and I'm happy to be here. Quality of life is medically necessary. It's my mantra. And again, my name is Melody. I'm an advocate for nursing home reform, have been even pre-COVID, and I'm a member of Essential Caregivers Movement. My husband, Bill, passed in November 2020 from failure to thrive due to isolation in the nursing home. He was in the nursing home for 5 years, and I currently have 2 close friends who are in the same nursing home. So, nursing homes. They're said to be healthcare. You go into a nursing home, and in an instant, you're home. You're in a roughly 10 by 20 depressingly decorated room that you share with a stranger and all their baggage. You lose your dignity, you lose your identity, you have no privacy, you are on their schedule. And you are having meals that, well, your interests and activities are now relegated to things like bingo. If you can't be transitioned from your bed, you don't get to participate in any activities, and your world has been turned upside down. Yet this is a health facility. Sadly, in general, our society has accepted this as normal. However, poor quality of life in other settings is not tolerated. Changes continue to be made in facilities such as correctional institutions, but not long-term care. Does that make you angry? It should make you angry. And relate this information to people that you know outside of this group, because it should make them angry too, and hopefully take action. When I'm thinking about health, I always refer to the World Health Organization that in their constitution states that health is a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, and not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. So to me, that translates to assuring mental and social well-being is as important as giving a diabetic their insulin. When my husband was admitted to the nursing home, a lot of these things became quickly recognizable, and we knew we couldn't let this engulf us. We had to create our own new normal. And our home was translated to the nursing home as best as we could. I always said home was at the nursing home, and where I am now is where I slept, showered, and had coffee before I went to work in the morning. Our Sunday morning paper and coffee routine was now at a table in the dining room that the staff referred to as our table. On my way to the nursing home after work on Fridays, I'd pick up dinner, and we would have it in an activity room that closed at 4 p.m. every day. The activity room closed at 4 p.m. every day. However, the activity staff, before they left, they'd put a pretty tablecloth on one of the tables and some flowers. One of the other residents guarded, didn't ask her to do it, but we'd hear her out in the hallway. Anyone coming near that activity room, you can't go there. Bill and his wife are having dinner. These things are important. Relating to important, going back to the dining room, one Easter Sunday, a family came in, extended family, infants, up to older adults, everyone in between, and they brought what they often would have as their Easter family brunch. And they arranged this with staff so that they could include and have their Easter dinner with their grandmother, who was in the nursing home and wasn't able to transition to go visit for a day. So when I'm thinking about these things, yeah, it takes some creativity to work with what's there now. But one of the things in common is, did you notice that the staff felt these things are important too? However, and I was looking at going back to Transformation Tuesdays from September with Jonas Weitzman, noting that the nursing home staff, the social well-being of nursing home residents falls on mostly to the recreation activities department, but overall in staffing. However, it's a 1:60 ratio. Daytime activities at night, I rarely saw them happen. And then teeny tiny budget for this piece that World Health Organization shows is critical. For us, that means immediate action to initiate fundamental change. Took that from one of your slides, Alice. And that includes funding for staff, staff training, and also transforming the mindset and the culture. So as I'm wrapping up, I just want to leave you with a few thoughts as far as our advocacy and activism is concerned for making positive change. We can't think of this and the ills of nursing homes as being a now thing or just a them thing. We are or we will be affected. And these are messages, again, to get out to people who are not in this room, and they can join us. Funding, training, shift in culture, they're imperative to support positive changes. Keep in mind, quality of life is medically necessary. And for most, a nursing home is their last stop on this earth. Go back to what we talked about and mentioned what a nursing home is like. And if this is the last stop, shouldn't it be fabulous? So here we are, Transformation Tuesday. I'd speak for all of us in this room that nursing home reform is needed, and we would all agree on that. The challenge is, if no one speaks up, there's no chance that anything will change. Transformation connotes that we are not just to listen and gather information at these sessions. Be angry. Get your friends angry. Get your families angry. Act upon it. transform what is accepted as the normal, and think, what are we, you, doing to transform the narrative and to move forward? Thank you.
Thank you, Melody. Alice, did you want to introduce Liz?
Sure. So Liz, I think that was a great segue into your part of the session today. And I'm trying to keep up with the chat, which I'm failing at, but I'm trying. And there's a lot in there that I think support what you wanted to talk about in terms of legislation and care partners and things like that. So turn it over to you. Oh, you're on mute. You have to unmute. There you go.
There we go. Jack asked me to do a quick introduction. I think Melody did it for me. I am a daughter whose caregiving story is analogous with Melody's. I cared for my mother. She cared for her husband, and we had a wonderful life in the nursing home prior to early March 2020. Melody's story and my story are emblematic of tens of thousands of similar stories throughout the country. And I believe in very few coincidences. I think I'm here on Transformation Tuesday, on Giving Tuesday, because I'm here to ask, along with the wonderful opportunities that you've heard about already today, and that are in the email that was sent by Jack about a week ago. I'm here to ask for a gift. I'm here to ask that you make it your goal to see legislation that is very, very simple over the line into a law in 2023. Currently known as HR 3733, an emphasis on currently because it will change in the new session. The Essential Caregivers Act protects the right for every person in long-term care to designate 2 essential caregivers who cannot be shut out in a public emergency. The Essential Caregiver Act was introduced in DC in June of 21. And it recognizes and protects the family as care partners, and family has a broad interpretation. The bill guarantees that isolation will be addressed, and the critical right granted in the 1987 Nursing Home Reform Act will never be waived again. Regardless of the updated CMS guidelines, there are providers across the country, and I hear in New York, who continue to use the public health emergency as license to limit care partners and visitors in long-term care. We must have federal legislation to ensure this comes to a stop. It's said that proximity can be transformational. I know that most of us, probably all of us, can probably claim an intimate proximity to the harm that was caused by isolating families, caregivers during the public health emergency, and continues today. I have a plea. My plea is to ask you to take action to help pass the Essential Caregiver Act in this session. Ask questions today. I'm almost finished. In this safe environment, play the devil's advocate in this safe place and challenge what I'm proposing. At the close of the session, use the email that will be put in the chat to ask more questions, and join the Essential Caregiver Forum, the second one that's being held on December 13th, to learn about what's happening throughout the country to move this bill to law. In closing, I recognize and say, yes, there's a healthcare staffing crisis. Yes, there's a serious problem with transparency, nursing home finance, and ownership. Yes, person-centered care is little more than a buzzword in too many settings. And I trust that moving forward, along with many other organizations, including the one platform we're on today, are tackling this gargantuan task. a task that will take a long time and a lot of serious heft to accomplish. But the Essential Caregiver Act is simply written. It has no fiscal note, and it will have an immediate, immeasurable, positive impact on residents, their families, and overworked staff. I'm calling on all here today to tell one, to tell 10, and to consider shifting some advocacy into activism. Please, let's work together to pass this law. It's known since June of 2021 as HR 3733. There'll be links in the chat that someone's helping me with. We talked with staffers yesterday, and we were assured that it will be reintroduced in January with a new number, but the Essential Caregiver Act will stay. There's so much more I could talk about, but in the interest of time and the desire to have questions and conversation, I'll stop there. And thank you very much for this opportunity.
You know, you guys so passionate, have so much passion and compassion. What a beautiful session. The goal of this session is for everybody to get off their butts to make some change, to work, whether moving forward coalition, work with us, but make sure, because this is one of those things that it's not on people's radar. Everybody's like disgusted at what happened to nursing home residents during COVID. But there's only been a very little, not only movement, but very little participation by the public. We all know that it's terrible, but we all still want to put it out of our minds. That's not appropriate, not respectful, and it's another inhumane reaction to these tragedies that we've all been subject to. So as part of today, let's get off our butts. I'd like to get some of the Alice and Melody and Liz to respond to some of the items that were in the chat. You can select what you wish to respond to.
I just want to respond to Irma Rappaport, who's got some really nice information in the chat about the Essential Caregivers Act. And Irma, would you like to say a little bit more about that?
Yes, I apologize, Liz. You did a wonderful job speaking so passionately about the bill. And I don't know how many of you are aware of the bill. I hope you are. I tried to help you out, Liz, by putting the information in. I had it all set up, but I have it right here. And anybody who wants to email me or put it in the chat to me, I will get it right to you about both things. Like I said, the forum, we had a very successful HR 3733 forum in last month, and there were almost 50 people at it, just like this. And we need this bill to pass. Like Liz said, it's a straightforward bill, very simple, and will prevent the isolation of residents if they're lucky enough to have an essential caregiver. If there's any questions, I can just tell you, I mentioned in the chat that we had 45 new co-sponsors since May. The process was by doing what we did in Connecticut. All 5 of our representatives co-sponsored the bill, and that's why I'm helping other states. We're doing the same strategy of going to our health legislative assistants for a representative. That's one of the staff members in charge of health issues. And this bill is under that. And we have Zoom meetings with them for 30 minutes with a constituent or two. They tell their caregiver story. They either lost their loved one during the pandemic due to failure to thrive, not from COVID, or they still have someone living in a long-term care facility. And then we ask the health assistant to write a memo or talk to the Congress man or woman to ask them to co-sponsor, and it's as simple as that. Some have co-sponsored just by reading my emails. And Melody, we did that together. And Liz, we're trying for your daughter's representative. So happy to help with anyone with that. And I even got Deborah Ellis, your representative in Connecticut, co-sponsored after I talked to her. Very happy to do that.
Excellent.
All across the state. So anybody who wants to, just please give me your name, your town or city that you're in, and
Excellent.
the name of your representative. That's all.
Now, Carrie, you raised your hand. Carrie, you're muted.
Hi, Jack.
Hi, my love.
Hi, Jack.
You're always in the car.
Yes, I'm always in the car, love, but I love you anyway.
Love you
So
too.
we need to make sure as we move forward, and I am part of the essential caregiver movement who helped write this bill. We need to make sure that we are emphasizing that this is all long-term care that is affected. There are so many other types of facilities that fall under the Nursing Home Care Act. So, and those are included with, whether we're talking about 1987 laws or the essential caregiver movement that we're working on today. There are lots of people in long-term care that are not elderly. The fastest growing age group right now of people moving into long-term care are between 18 and 65. They're developmentally delayed. There are people that have been in accidents from motorcycles or water or whatever, and people are living longer after those kind of events. So they wind up in some sort of facility. And I feel like we have to teach the world to change the words we are using, because otherwise they only think about the nursing home and don't look past that. And Jack will tell you, I have corrected him 1,000 times to use the word long-term care, because I think as we move forward, that will help broaden what we all want to do and are trying to do.
Fabulous. Thank you, Carrie. I wanted to open this up to other people. Nancy, you wanted to make a comment or ask a question? Please unmute.
Hi, yes, I am so grateful that all of you are here, first of all. Hopefully you will be at the next Transformation Tuesday with the residents, sharing their experiences. I think the world needs to hear our stories, all of them. But I'm just wondering, Alice, can you tell me a little bit about any positive change pieces of legislation that participants or people on the 7 committees and the steering committee have been involved with? I'd like to know sort of their backgrounds and their past views on changes. I was reading all of the past OIG, HHS OIG reports last night over the years, and about long-term care. Thanks, Carrie, for saying that. But yeah, I'm just wondering where everyone on the committees and the steering committee stood 5 years ago.
So it's a great question. And we have on our website, we have a section called resources and updates. And we we have encouraged the co-chairs to share any documents, government reports, pieces of legislation that they think are relevant. And so in particular, it's been generally, related to the topic of their particular committee. I'll just use as an example, we have a workforce committee, which is a pretty large committee, and there's a lot of efforts right now. And I see a lot of information in the chat about staffing levels and the crisis that we're undergoing now. A lot of work is happening at the state level with state nursing workforce centers, and some of those have a little bit of funding, some of them have barely any funding, and there's not a lot of national organization, but there is work happening, and some of the governors are doing work and putting money behind it. So there have been a few pieces of legislation that have happened at state levels that the co-chairs are tracking, and I can't cite you the exact numbers for the bills, but there's quite a bit around that. Committee on Transparency and Ownership, and also the Committee on Finance, there's been quite a number of pieces of legislation around nursing home finance, and those committees are looking at things like alternative payment models, some of which it's not exactly what you're asking about in terms of a piece of legislation, but for example, in the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Innovation, CMMI, there have been some demonstration projects about different models of nursing home care and things like institutional special needs plans, which are a type of Medicare Advantage plan. So again, it gets in the weeds very quickly, but I would say, check back on our website in another couple of months. We're really trying to update those pieces of legislation and reports
Great.
as well. And, we all need to be, reading the news and checking the news every day if we can, or whenever we can, because I'm very lucky. I have someone in the organizations I work with who that's kind of their job, is to go through, the updates and what's coming out in the news, which again, hard to do, but we are trying to share all of that through the coalition, and you all have ways that you're doing that as well. So it's a great question. And yes, we have to be really vigilant about what's coming out, because to Irma's point, and other people who are, backing particular pieces of legislation, we need to make our voice heard, because no one else is going to do it if it's not us. So
Aye.
yeah, so we need to do it, and we need to get other people involved in this work. It can't be, Alice Bonner says this is a good idea. That's going nowhere. It's got to be all of us together, and especially those of you who are living in a nursing home. I have actually been somebody who lived in a rehab for about 3 weeks in a skilled nursing facility, and it was challenging. And that's just me being there for 3 weeks. That's nothing compared to what people go through who live there every day for years. So we really do need to hear from people who are living this. Anyway, I see.
Yeah.
Just on that point, Nancy, I'd like to have Jeremiah make his comment and question. Would you be so kind, Jeremiah?
Yeah. I would like to thank everyone for being here. Some of you know me, some don't. I was in a major car accident when I was 17, ended up losing both my legs. I have a spinal cord injury. My right arm is paralyzed. And so I require a lot of care. And I've been in and out of nursing homes for the last 15 years. I've spent probably about 7 years in total in nursing homes over the last 15 years. And I've seen the massive decline of just the personnel and the care that goes into these places, especially since COVID started. When because I've been in nursing homes since COVID started, and basically when it came out, the news did its job and did the whole. It terrified people into really being afraid of it, and I saw this mass exodus of the people I depend on most, the caregivers, the nurses, the CNAs, the people who were so afraid of catching this disease that I know that so many people have died from it, but honestly, it's like for most people it has almost a 98% survivability rate, but it really affected the older people, and I saw that. But what I saw was there weren't enough CNAs and nurses in nursing homes where I was, and they were actually allowing these COVID positive dementia patients to wander the building, which were spreading COVID. But actually, really the only way that COVID came into the buildings was from the staff workers themselves, who were bringing it in from the outside, which made it very difficult to control it. And since things have started to calm down now, it's getting a little bit better, but we don't see the numbers of staff workers like CNAs and nurses coming back into the field, because they can get paid just as much working at Target without all the stress and without all the hardship and the pain and the mental anxiety that comes with healthcare. And they are worth more than minimum wage. These are the people who care for our loved ones, the greatest generation that ever lived. The ones that built this country, like my grandparents and maybe some of your parents, and eventually, sadly, most of you, and will end up in a nursing home because we get to a point in life where we can't care for ourselves and don't necessarily have the family. Like, I've had many people reach out to me about asking about whether I'd like to transition out of nursing homes, but I have nowhere to go. I don't have I don't have family or a home to go to. And then even when I was at home with my mom and my stepdad, when COVID hit, I couldn't get the help in the home because there were no CNAs they're all leaving. They're like, I am not going to get this virus. I'm not going to, risk dying for, $19, $20 an hour. And it made it very difficult to create an environment that was that was, I'm trying to think of the right word, that that fostered the desire to want to be in this industry. And the problem is we don't see people coming back into it even now that COVID's starting to kind of calm down.
Jeremiah, your
Yeah.
comments are really essential. Your voice is essential because we need to hear from the people who are most affected, such as you. I'd also like to ask some of the other people. There's still a lot of people who have comments that they wish to make. First of all, let me give a rundown. Let's start with Marjorie, Elise, Jennifer, and then there are still more people. I want to hear from Evie, Susan Friedman, and Roxanne. That's a lot of people. It just goes to show how I want everybody to be riled up. And I think that we're starting that. So Marjorie, would you be so kind to ask your question or comments?
I will. I hope my voice holds out. I've had a cold. I'm on State Senator Karina Villa, Illinois, Senior Advisory Board. We got legislation passed on increasing rights for people in long-term care. We had the National Nursing Home Council and the National Health Council come after us on things like people should get water when needed. And we were shocked that they would come after us for those things. They said, well, it's going to cause more staff because then we have to take them to the bathroom.
Like as though that is not a human rights violation.
Right.
It's like, it's just disgusting.
It is. Now we got the bill passed finally. We stood strong and cheered and had a big party. The next one we're going on is the overdrugging of the elderly in these places. So we're writing the bill, but we're prepared for who's going to come after us. And I'm also with the Department of Aging. But to tag on with Jeremiah, 7 years ago, I came out of nursing home, assisted living, and even senior independent living. And I am on my own now. And what you find is staff, it is all well and good. And then when people like you leave, it's back to normal. And those people who speak out to the basic issues are deprived of water, socialization, the bathroom, food, and everything for doing it.
The basic things of life.
One lady spoke out. She asked for water and they put it just far enough away that she couldn't get it. So they could write down they gave her water, but she was disabled and couldn't reach the water.
Marjorie, these are important things that you're reminding us of the degradations that nursing home residents suffer every day.
Right, and also the people they call throwaways. There are many people of my generation, I'm 74, who did not get married, who do not have children, who do not have relatives.
Right.
And they call them throwaways because they know they can get away with it.
So,
So
thank you. I'd also like to move on to Elise. You had some important comments to make. Elise?
She left.
Okay, then let's, Jennifer, are you still here or did you leave as well? I think she may have jumped off. Susan Friedman.
that was some bundle of stuff.
Yeah,
A lot
sure
of
did.
information, a lot of information. Grey Panthers is very focused on getting younger people involved in our advocacy. And I'm wondering if that wonderful video of, what is his name? I'm losing my memory of, you know who I mean, Jeremiah, is somehow, can we get just that clip that we can use to promote this advocacy to younger folks? And do any other organizations in the coalition have a youth arm?
That's a question for Alice.
I responded to someone else who asked a similar question about, how can we get more young people to think about, nursing homes and who lives in nursing homes and what they do and all of that. And frankly, to consider careers in long-term care and, careers in aging programs and services. A number of people have tried to start programs at the state level where, those of us who do work in long-term care go into middle schools, high schools, reach out to local civic groups, reach out to local government groups, departments of health, state department of public health. So there are things like that we can do, but I honestly think we need more of a federal program for that, similar to, AmeriCorps or some of these other programs, but, really getting people into nursing homes and long-term care sooner rather than later. Middle school is really probably where we ought to start and introduce it as part of life so people don't think nursing homes are the
Agreed.
house on the hill where no one ever goes to visit. So
Agreed.
yes, we need a big push for that, and it wouldn't cost that much money, but we need people to do it. So
Let's work together.
So
on that.
Alex,
Jack, if I,
there are ways to do this.
Yes, I'm
You
hearing
know-
a lot of opportunity for like a push on some of these issues. I'm grateful. Melody?
I was just tapping into that and going back into a little bit of what I had mentioned earlier of talking to people about it. For the majority of people, or I shouldn't say majority, but there's a lot of people that during this next month or so are celebrating holidays where there's family gatherings, you're at different events and so forth. And maybe bring this into your topic, your conversations of what's going on, and help to educate people while you're at that family dinner or that cocktail party or wherever you may be. The other thoughts that I had, and I was seeing where Susan and Alice were chatting about, getting the information out to younger people to educate and to inform and just start, getting to be what long-term care is. Two thoughts come to mind. First of all, those holiday gatherings usually have a lot of generations there. The next thing is I recently, and I attended one, became aware of an organization called Generations Over Dinner, where you can do this in person, where you're gathering people together and you're having intergenerational conversations. Jack, if you'd like me to post the link in the chat, maybe that might be an outlet of getting messages out. And then the other thing I thought of for younger people, I know out here in California, the schools require, as part of graduation requirements, is community service time. So maybe some of the projects that you might be working on, or some things you might either be doing locally or on a national level, if there's a way to engage some of the middle and high schoolers, or even college students and younger demographic into doing some of the volunteer work. And that at least might be a
Right.
short-term thing for them, but educate. Anyway.
I think that, we all have these fantastic ideas. And perhaps the most, ideas are fantastic. It's the implementation of them that's the hard part, a real challenge. But I still want to continue because we have a lot of people who had wanted to say something. Roxanne, then Paul and Liz. Roxanne, are you still here? Perhaps not. Paul, you wanted to say something? Looking forward to hearing your pearls of wisdom.
Well, yeah, okay, I'm not sure about the pearl part, but anyway, my question and my experience has shown me over the years that exposure is everything. And just what you were talking about. And so without getting too far ahead of myself, I have pulled together a group of people, and we are looking at providing support in the area of volunteers. And so we're calling it right now the National Association of Long-Term Care Volunteers. And the purpose is to promote and train volunteers. And so the worst thing you can do is just have somebody walk through the front door and get slapped in the face with what's going on in long term. And so one of the things that we're doing is preparing people. I've done this for years in the Omaha area, and now I'm taking it to it. I hope to take it across the country. And that is recruit and put volunteers through something similar to what a hospice training is. And they become companion volunteers. And so their purpose is to go in and befriend residents, particularly those that don't have family or anyone to support them outside of the nursing home. And this isn't, of course, not a replacement for ombudsman, which is a very serious role as well. But this is a benign visit because we know that.
More like a friendly visiting.
Yeah.
Friendly
Yeah,
visit.
so, but it's beyond, it's not a casual thing. It's we do a very stringent vetting process so that we know that we have people that are highly committed and will show up week after week. Anyway, I could talk for a long time about that, but that's what I'm working on right now.
Great, thank you, Paul. We look forward. We better be working together. We better. All right. Then next is Liz, then Carrie and Jeremiah, and then we'll have to close up.
Thank you, Jack. Paul, I've read your work and kudos to you. So thank you for speaking up today. I'm a lifelong educator, and when we speak about youth, I cannot speak highly enough about or more vehemently about the work we need to do with legislation to get pipelines going. When Alice talked about middle school, that was my life prior to being a caregiver. And Jack, you're right. We have to do something. There are people doing things, and I want to encourage people I just want to let people know that. So it's going to happen. It's going to happen. I'm feeling very positive about it. That's all I want to say. Very.
Then Carrie and Jeremiah. Carrie?
So to include more people in what we're trying to do and how we get some of the younger people involved needs to look at organizations like Special Olympics, special ed programs, because those people, those clients, athletes, wherever the program is, they are all eventually going to wind up in long-term care. So if we can involve them and their families, even before they get to that point, you are going to have more than doubled our efforts, because we have people that are going to start thinking about the future. Parents like me don't ever really think about, oh my gosh, I'm putting my child in long-term care until it happens. And then we wake up to a world that we have no clue what we're doing.
Thank you. Always insightful, Carrie. And now Jeremiah, you're going to do our close.
Okay. I actually just, I love making videos and stuff. So, and I just bought a whole bunch of video equipment, and I would be really happy to make regular videos, bi-weekly videos encouraging people, especially younger people in the younger generation, for your organization to, because I also work with a couple other groups called the main group I work with is Dignity for the Aged. I know that some of you are aware of that group. We've done work with them. And I'm actually the administrator of the young adults in long-term care facilities, the kind of the arm of the Facebook group on there. And since I actually spent what was it, about 6 weeks in the hospital because there was a lot of neglect and abuse at the last nursing home that I was in. And I'm in South Carolina now, which fortunately does have staffing ratios, which is also a big problem, with a lot of states because North Carolina didn't have that. I know that's what we're trying to get done with HR 7377 or whatever, with the House Resolution bill. But I would be really happy just to make encouraging, bi-weekly or daily even videos when I can.
Jeremiah, that would be awesome. Awesome. Let us work together on this and related things along with others. Again, talk is cheap and my talk is cheap too. But one of my dreams has been to do a TikTok campaign.
Yes. Yeah. See, I'm not big on TikTok because I think it's kind of mind-numbing, but I know that you got to go, just like what Jesus said, you got to go where the people are,
Yeah, and I would presume that most of the people on this call do not have a TikTok account. So I would presume that. However, there's millions of people, younger people, who do. And it's a great place to make connections. I want to say thank you, Melody. Alice, I want to say thank you to everybody who's been on this call and that what we've done. And I think that we've done part of what we wanted, which is to rile people up. We got to get people who are not the usual suspects. And Alice, would you like to say something as we close?
I would just say thank you to everybody. This has been a fantastic call for me. I would love to listen to the recording so I can hear it all over again. I just chatted in that, for Jeremiah and Jack, let's connect because we may have some funding we could support, modest, not a lot, but we have a communications team. We'd love to talk about some of these videos and just have a call on that. So let's absolutely plan for that. We need to get people more riled up. That's, Jack is the only person I talk to on a regular basis who talks about getting people really pissed off and riled up. And that's exactly what we need to do. We've all been at this a long time. Some of you are living this every day. And, we have an opportunity here. So we're not going to get it again. So now is the time. And, we can get people like all of you to talk to local legislators, state legislators. Again, we had somebody on the call today from government. We need to get many, many more of those people involved. And we need to talk to Congress. We need to find people in Congress who we can engage and will really step up and say, I am a representative and I'm a senator and I'm all about nursing homes and long-term care. So we want to work with you on this. We need you. And we thank you for everything you've done so far. And I hope you'll just go to the website, check it out, see what you think and let us know and email me anytime. I said I'd put my email in. I'm going to do it again right now. So Jack, back to you.
That's it. Selena's going to put something in and then we're going to be done. Thank you so much, everyone, for being on this very exciting webinar. I hope that everybody has taken away the opportunity and the joy of being pissed off.
Hey, would everybody mind if I said a prayer for us and our group?
Yes, let's do it, Jeremiah.
Awesome. Abba, Father, we come before you now to offer you the thanks and the praise of our hearts. We know that it's by you, through you, and for you that all things have been created. I want to thank you for this amazing group of individuals who have put their heart, their soul, and their time, Father, which I know is something that we can never get back, but what we can get back, Father, is our virtue. We can get back our dignity and our rights, the things that we are given by your grace and by your glory and through the Son and through your Son, Yahushua HaMashiach, Jesus the Messiah, whom all salvation has been received. We know that we have certain unalienable rights, but we just need to remind people of that and to get the right people involved so that we know that we can be true in your grace and your glory to treat others the way that we would want to be treated, and especially to take care of the elderly who can't take care of themselves, and not just the elderly, because people like me, we're the fastest growing demographic in nursing homes, and it's people like me who I'm in my right mind. My body is not. And I just ask that your grace and your glory to strengthen us, to guide us, and to put your hand and to guide us in the right direction. It's in your perfect and eternal name we pray. Amen.
Thank
and amen.
thank you,
Amen.
Jeremiah. And God bless everybody.
Yeah,
Thanks,
okay.
Jeff.
Hey, Marjorie,
Thanks, Michelle.
Marjorie, this is Carrie. I sent you a message with my phone number. Please call me.
Okay,